Just like old times,
Exactly.
except not.
Uh, so anyone else want to say hi before we get started? Gummy, we haven't heard you speak.
Hello.
Hey, how are you?
I'm just fine.
That's good to hear. All right, George, we good to go?
Yeah, anytime.
All right, well, I'm glad that we could get the band back together for a one-night performance, I suppose. But I guess just seeing some of the things that have happened over the past several years and you know, presumably last several months, I wanted to just, you know, get some folks together and you know, try and clear the air for, you know, what may have happened, some misunderstandings or, you know, some legitimate gripes and you know, feelings that people had. And you know, if anything, I wanted folks to understand that you know, the community persists irrespective of, you know, where you're gaming at any moment in time. And was hoping that, you know, even if people do make the decision of leaving long term, that they're going to continue to you know, do their best to stay in touch. So what I'd like to get is just some preliminary perspective from both you, George, and Sam, and just to understand better since I've been absent, what exactly some of the underlying issues have been, and you know, if there's anything we can hash out tonight.
Let me think about that question for just a second.
If I may.
Certainly.
Yeah.
Multi issue at this point now.
Okay, so what I made out,
Yes.
it's still a little latency, but long-term issue, basically.
I guess it's long term. It's the only real issue that means anything. It's trust. It's broken. That's not something that repairs easily, if ever. So.
No, I understand.
I don't see how much can be done.
Yeah, and you know, it's going to be difficult because we're probably going to be talking in generalities, but you know, one of the things I go back to is just looking at, you know, our history of gaming together and, you know, stepping beyond that. You know, I think back to us being in the Keys together, celebrating George's wedding, us being in Georgia celebrating, you know, your and Jill's wedding, and you know, all of the time that people spent outside of the game over time. And I'm just trying to understand how trust was breached through the internet for individuals that are actual friends in real life.
So maybe I could interject here. So Sam is absolutely right that there is a underlying trust problem, and that if you're going to speak in a generality, that's definitely the crux of the issue. I think that him and I didn't get to explore that enough or discuss that enough. You know, from my perspective, I guess, you know, trust is not necessarily, maybe it comes in a little bit of layers or levels, right? So we were definitely having issues where we were having disagreements on things related to administration within the guild, right? And so there were some trust issues in the sense of, do I trust that you're doing this job the way that I want you to be doing this job, or by the definition that, you know, surrounds this job, and, you know, things of that nature, right? But if I look at trust in the broader sense, I would trust Sam and Jill to take care of my daughter overnight. What does that say about trust? You know, so it's not necessarily a black and white or a binary or an on and off issue unless you just want it to be one.
And I think that's fair. And Sam, if the intent really is to just move forward and push aside the the time spent in the past, I think people are understanding of that if it's just a fundamental issue that can't be overcome. But from my perspective, I don't want to lose communication with you, through this community, um, based on whatever it is that's happened.
I don't think that's Kilth's issue, though. If I can.
Certainly.
And I guess I don't understand what Joe just said.
Would you like to be more specific in what you're looking for clarity on?
Well, so Joe said he doesn't trust him to be number 2, but he trusts him to take care of Lila. I guess I don't understand that in reference to the guild. I guess I don't understand that part.
Sure, and we'll let Joe answer in a minute. I think from my perspective is there's kind of two halves to this, right? One is your relationship from a gaming perspective and whether you're accomplishing the goals or proceeding in a way that protocols expect, and the others whether or not you would have a beer with someone and be friends with them. And I think they're two absolutely distinct things that are oftentimes lost in the context of the internet. But Joe, any thoughts?
Yeah, I don't think that the statement that I made was ambiguous necessarily, but I didn't fire Kilth from his position, and Kilth arrived at his decision to leave because of events that led up to a specific moment, and then a determination that was made. It wasn't necessarily any one thing. Kilth and I had a discussion about it, where he brought up that trust was the number one thing, and he felt that trust had been it just deteriorated over time. And I brought up that we had our friendship, and that was really important to me, that in a relationship, if you look at it over the scope of time, we have a 10 or 11 year relationship where we've had 2 years where we've had disagreements and problems, but that was kind of a normal thing in any relationship. And so if you have problems, you kind of have to work on it.
Yeah, and
but you can go ahead.
No, I actually saw Kilth chime in there, so if you want to go ahead,
Sure.
Kilth.
You're mixing two things here.
Okay.
It was a long decision based on trust for me to step down as an officer. My decision to leave the guild was of entirely different reasoning.
I didn't approach that at all. I was only talking about you stepping down as an officer.
Well, when you said he left because, made me believe you were speaking to why I left the guild, not why I left.
My apologies.
And my understanding is that basically one of the major breaches or issues that led to Kilth you leaving and obviously several other people leaving were some conversations that took place within the context of the leadership team. And I'm sure that there were things that were said in the candor of that may have gotten back in a way that was ill-received, and probably rightly so. But
No.
Okay, go ahead, Kilth.
It's simpler than that. It really is much simpler than that. I left food because I was given no other choice or avenue.
Whoa! Who told you
How is that?
When Joe told me that I need to leave the guild, that's what I understood as what he told me.
So why don't you expand on everything that was said before that?
If you're completely at odds with what I've heard and seen happen. So somebody lied to me or you.
Or there was a
Well,
basic
you know,
misunderstanding, which is
every time I talk to y'all, you twist what I say. So it's really hard to
Well, that's
even
why
want
we're
to get
here.
into detail.
Yeah, that is
Because
why we're here.
I had a 2-hour conversation with the council that when it got to the forums ended with me making 2 simple statements that a child would. I don't see how you have a 2-hour conversation with anyone if that's all that they want to say. That's not being truthful about what I said. And the very first thing that you said, Ed, after a 2-hour conversation where I stressed multiple times that I've never wanted to be guild leader of Foo, the very first thing that you posted was Kilth wanted to be guild leader of Foo. I don't know how we can have a conversation going forward when every single thing that comes out of my mouth talking to you people is twisted and framed to fit your narrative. And I don't want to do that. If you
What
just
is our
give me,
narrative?
if you'll
And-
just give me 2 minutes, I'll say what
Yep.
I've got to say. I was never given the opportunity to say anything to the rest of the membership of Foo before I was removed after stating my intention to leave because my access was taken away. So I appreciate the opportunity to do that. And I would like to just do that. My understanding is the purpose of this meeting was to supply people with information. And I am all for that. I am all for having a conversation with people about anything at just about any time. I am not hard to find. I'm still the same places I've always been, and I've still got the same phone number that I've had. If anybody wants to talk to me and ask me questions, I've got
User in your
answers for
channel
you
timed
up
out.
until the point that my answers would interfere with the trust of the friendship that I have with someone else, even a broken friendship of the one that I consider that I have with Joe right now. I'm not going to violate that trust just to explain why I feel the way I feel, because how I feel really doesn't matter to me. I don't care how you feel, and that's the end of it. I was put into a situation, the only option I saw was to leave. I left.
and I think that's a fair statement.
Anyone who tells you I wanted to be guild leader of Foo is lying to you. Anyone who tells you I didn't try to work through the situation is lying to you. Anyone who tells you
Yeah.
that I'm supposed to have a conversation about it is lying to you.
And Sam, if I can jump in for 1 second, from a completely third-party perspective at this point, I heard nothing about any conversation about people wanting to be leaders of Foo. The only thing I've seen is basically, the community fracture, and that was what I was interested in understanding. So
That's fine, man. Brian, I would love to have a long and in-depth conversation with you at some point. But I don't want it to be in this form. I'm tired of watching everything
Understood.
I say, whether recorded or not, being twisted to mean what someone else wants it to mean. And I'm not going to do that anymore. It's made perfectly clear. I may never be again. And we all know what happens when Joebane says this person wants to take control of food. I know what happens. Who's been here long enough knows what happens. You know what available options there are at that point forward. So I've put my contact information there, and I've got a phone right here, and I'll talk to anyone at any time. And that's really all I've got to say.
And we appreciate that, Sam. It's we'll definitely follow up and have some conversations.
User disconnected from your channel.
All right, so I think Sam left. So Gummy and Dimitri, I was curious if you guys had any additional overlay or perspective. Again, without being fully privy to the conversations between Joe and Kilth. Just if there's anything that you would recommend for the guild going forward in terms of transparency or protocols, or just any other generalized thoughts.
I just want to ask Joe a question about when he found what he found. Why was your first response to kick
User entered
Kilth
your
from the
channel.
guild instead of talking to him about what was going on?